Hey guys, and welcome to Pixel Cherry Ninja's channel. In this video today, we are going to be talking Game Bub. What is a Game Bub? Well, it's an open source FPGA retro emulation handheld like you can see on screen. But in particular, the reason for this video is I've been speaking to the developer behind this upcoming project and they want some feedback as in what kind of Game Bub you will like to see. So currently the crowd supply page is up and you can see it's a Game Boy DMG or a Game Boy Color themed looking console. However, this is targeting the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance, and this device is fully open source. So if you want to bring your own cores over, you want to port cores over, you want to do interesting stuff with this FPGA, it is fully open source. It's not locked in any way or form. However, the developer behind this has great love for the Game Boy and they are creating their ultimate version of a Game Boy that can play everything. So in this video, we'll have a quick look at the page because we have gone through this before in a previous video, but the Game Bub is ultimately the ultimate Game Boy. It supports link cable. You can link it with an original Game Boy or another Game Bub. It comes with a dock as well, so you can play on a large screen. And this is something I'm very interested in because I like handheld gaming and I have a soft spot for any Game Boys. I own multiple Game Boys and that's probably the most I have when it comes to original hardware. The specs there on screen, I'm not going to go through that. I have got a video on the channel where we initially went through everything there and they've kind of shown it off, and it's currently in portrait mode here. So let's have a look at this. Right, so where we're going. All right, so what we're going to do, let's have a look at analog next. So analog pocket, one of the things about the analog pocket, and whenever we talk about limited editions and what will analog bring next, people always say they really want to see an original Game Boy Advance styled analog pocket. So we're talking, instead of portrait mode, it's going to be landscape mode. It's going to be more comfortable for the hands. I love the analog pocket, but hey, try doing like a 3-hour Pokemon marathon or a 3-hour Street Fighter marathon and your hands start cramping up a bit. Portrait mode is good. I love the nostalgia it brings to us, but hey, we know landscape is definitely more comfortable. So the question is, this is what the Game Bub is currently gonna look like, but what the developer is asking, and guys, please leave your comments below if you have any other suggestions, leave them down below, but in particular this one here, they are actually asking, is it worth doing a landscape model? Now this is just the Game Boy Advance model that I've pulled randomly just to serve as an image, but would you like the Game Bub A as a portrait, which is the existing kind of model, the prototype that has been shown off, or would you like a rework of it and would you like it to be released in landscape mode? So maybe if you're going to play your Game Boy games for a long time, it's more comfortable. Now I have to say, I did find the Game Boy DMG extremely comfortable, but when it came to like the Game Boy Color, it was less comfortable because it was definitely a lot thinner. When it comes to the analog pocket, I love it, I play it, but I know I can't do massively long sessions because I've got big hands, I'm a grown man, and that kind of portrait mode just kind of, yeah, I do get hand cramps on that. However, I may get hand cramps on the Game Boy Advance with its landscape design. However, I can play for longer periods before those cramps come in. So definitely let us know in the comments below whether you prefer this original one or whether you prefer it this way. This is feedback that's required, and based on the feedback that we get, Eli, the main developer behind this is something that he may just go, okay, the first release is now going to be based on a Game Boy Advance, or it's going to be based sideways, right? Instead of vertical, it's going to be a horizontal design. So I've gone and I've said, look, horizontal is a winner because the feedback we always get on this channel is, yeah, analog should release a horizontal analog pocket. It's the same one, just horizontal, so we can play it for a long time. People use grips on the analog pocket in order to make it more comfortable and make it more horizontally. Is that even a word, horizontally? And the other question that we've got here, guys, is they are thinking to make the device so when you put in a Game Boy Color cartridge into it, it's flush, so it's not hanging out like it did on the Game Boy Advance SP that you can see on the left and the normal Game Boy Advance on the right hand side. So the normal Game Boy Advance cartridges were flush with the device, but the Game Boy DMG or the Game Boy Color carts, they popped out a bit. Now that's a difficult question for me to answer because there's a lot of nostalgia attached with that cart popping out, right? You know, when you had your Game Boy Advance and you wanted to play something like, say, Link's Awakening, and you had your original cart, you popped it in there and it popped out a bit. So that's a difficult one for me to answer, whether I would like it flush, which means when you put your Game Boy Advance game, it will fit, but it will be a little bit lower down, but you're not going to see it. So kind of want your feedback there. So the two questions is portrait portrait or landscape, as in vertical or horizontal, or do you want the cartridges popping out a bit when you're running the Game Boy Color and the normal Game Boy cartridges, with the Game Boy Advance ones being flush, or yeah, do you want everything to be flush? I guess it's subjective, right? Because the cards popping out definitely awaken a bit of nostalgia, but having them flush kind of gives it a better aesthetic. So guys, questions, give your opinions down below. The developer will be checking this out, and when they check it out, they'll make a decision based on the feedback received, whether or what design to go with. But that's it, guys, just a quick video. I'm definitely excited about the Game Bub, and when the campaign goes live, it is something I am going to back, depending on how much the price is and everything, and depending on my financial situation. I'm not the richest guy, but hey, I would like to get this. It just depends if I can afford it. But anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think of the Game Bub, and definitely give us your opinion below, because hey, you know, don't come when it's too late and be like, oh man, this should have been like this. Have your say. It matters and it will be heard. Anyway, guys, be awesome to one another. If you're not subscribed to the channel, then a subscription and a like is super duper appreciated. This is Pixel Cherry Ninja out.